This week, we're talking about Shadow of the Erdtree, the Nintendo Partner Direct, and IGN getting voluntary recognition of their union. It's time to start the download. Hello, and welcome back to Up Download. My name is Sterling, aka iCitation. I am joined for the first time on the news broadcast by Matt, aka Claire Matt, or Claire Matt 05. I don't know if you have a preference on adding the number or not.
Not really, no. How's it going, Sterling?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here. It's
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
Yeah, so this is the first time that you and I have gotten to do a piece of content just one-on-one together.
That's true. I was in the quiz show a couple weeks ago. That was my first time.
Yep, and so realizing that I have not gotten to just like talk to you, we've interacted a lot on Twitter and obviously over Up Download through Discord and stuff. But I'm realizing like I've never gotten to just like ask you some questions. And so before we get started with the news show, I just really wanted to know, like, kind of what is your history with, like, a not like complete history, but like a short history with gaming. Like, what's some of your early games that got you into gaming, or your favorite game, or what are you passionate about with games, stuff like that.
I would say I played games a lot as like a kid. I had a PS1 and a Game Boy and used those a lot, kind of like as a kid would use like a toy, like it wasn't like a hobby yet. Um, and then I played a little bit off and on like through high school and stuff like that, but I didn't really get super into it until when the Switch came out. I played Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild like in 2017, 2018 when those were still pretty new, and that like really revitalized my love for video games, and I've kind of been all in ever since. So
Yeah, and of course you are the co-host of Games Parlay with the Game Goat Billy, and tell us a little bit about how that got started and what you like doing with that.
In typical Billy fashion, he texted me one day and said, "Hey, I want to do a podcast. Do you want to do a podcast?" And I said, "Okay," and then we just kind of started doing it.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, it's been fun. We just kind of talk about whatever we are playing at the time or different relevant things about video games that are going on. So like we've talked a lot about emulation. We've talked a lot about games that we've played recently. Like we had a whole big thing about Tears of the Kingdom that we did. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a really cool show.
Yeah, and I forget if you mentioned it, but do you have like a single favorite game of all time?
My favorite game is Breath of the Wild.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's a great choice. Incredible choice. So, a game that is very similar to Breath of the Wild, easily accessible, incredibly cartoonish style, of course. Elden Ring, as everybody knows, is extremely similar. Actually, now that I think about it,
they're basically the same.
The similarities, jokes aside, the similarities of Elden Ring to Breath of the Wild are kind of like, that's kind of funny.
It's true.
So we got some news this week. Well, we knew the news. We knew that Shadow of the Erdtree would be coming, and we knew that it would likely be coming this year. And finally, we got a very short trailer, a short preview, and Miyazaki did a interview with IGN talking about Shadow of the Erdtree. So I obviously, as you know, am very excited for this.
Yes.
I did not play any Dark Souls games until like late college, and even then I only played Dark Souls 3. I wasn't very good at it. I didn't know if I would pick up I didn't even play Bloodborne, but I didn't know if I would pick up Elden Ring, and I did, and I loved it. I had so much fun with Elden Ring, so I'm so excited for this. Do you have any history with any Souls titles?
Unfortunately, I really don't. I tried Elden Ring for the first time like just a few weeks ago, actually. It was on sale on the PlayStation Store, so I bought it. I played it pretty well for like a week, and then I just kind of like bounced off of it. Yeah. I do want to get back to it. It's just like I don't think it was the game that my brain wanted to play at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you. And so something that I really enjoyed about it was getting to explore and find the build that worked for me, and then progress through the world. And so you had the downside of coming in after all of the balance changes had been made from release. It took them a while. Like, there were some things that they were pretty quick about balancing, but it took them a while to really start tweaking the a lot of the different arts and items and like spells and stuff. I did what a lot of people consider the easy mode for Elden Ring, which was playing as a sorcerer. I forget the name of the spell, but basically a massive Kamehameha. You like charge up your wand and just like hold out, and it just shoots this big beam in front of you. You cast a spell that like you stand inside this circle, and it boosts all the damage of the spells you cast while you're in the circle. And then you get behind an enemy and you just cast this thing, and it melts them. And I remember playing co-op with my friends, and they would just be dying of laughter because we'd be in the middle of this intense fight, and all of a sudden this blue beam would be coming out of nowhere and just melting HP bars. And I absolutely, like, I still had a challenge. Like, it took me a long time to beat the last couple bosses of the game.
Yeah.
I had to cheese a couple bosses. I'm not good at them, but my gosh, I think they're so gorgeous. And
Mhm.
um, honestly, hot take, I don't love the storytelling of Souls games. I
Interesting.
because I don't think it's bad. I just don't like it. Because I can see
Hmm.
why people like it. But you are almost every Souls game is like the story has already happened and you are discovering the story.
Right.
I like being part of the story. Um, that being said, I still had a blast with it. It was so much fun. So Shadow of the Erdtree got its first trailer. We started to see a lot of where it's going to go. We know that we are going to be going to a realm. So we're already in a place called the Lands Between. It sounds
Hmm.
like we're going to a land between now, like some
The
some
land between the land between.
some mysterious fourth place. Um, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. They Miyazaki in his interview said there was going to be a lot more difficult boss fights similar to Millennia. Um, did you did you ever hear the story of Let Me Solo Her?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, I
yeah.
have.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and so the reason why that guy became so popular is because she is the hardest fight in Elden Ring.
Hmm.
Um, so I am if these boss fights are going to be harder than Millennia, I am excited to see if I will beat it, if I will stick with it.
Right.
I am going to buy it. I'm going to play it. We'll see if I'll love it, but I'm excited for it.
It's gonna be really cool. That game was just so massive. It took them forever to get this DLC out.
Hmm.
So I'm interested to see if like I don't want to say like if it was worth it or not, but I do want to see what took them so long. You know?
Yeah, yeah, and of course, I pray that they do well. Bump up those fantasy critic numbers.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
we'll be
right.
great. One of these days, if I had a working keyboard, I would pull up the scoreboard right now because it's been a few weeks since I've done a score update. Um, but yeah,
I got you.
I need to do that one of these weeks. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's pull up the fantasy critic here. So in case you don't know, fantasy critic is a you know fantasy football, you know fantasy leagues, that kind of thing. So we have a fantasy video game release league. So every time a video game releases, it gets a score on a website called OpenCritic. And so we draft games, we create like a publisher instead of a team, and we put games that we think are going to do well on our team. And for every point above 70, it gets on OpenCritic, which is an aggregate rating of a bunch of review websites together. We get points. So, like, say a game scores 78 on OpenCritic, you get 8 points. Do you automatically lose points if it's below 70, or is it only if it's counterpicked?
Um, that's a really good question. I think you
I
lose
think,
points.
yeah, I think it's no matter what. Yeah. So then we get, so we do a big draft in January. Then you have $100 of fake money to buy more games throughout the year. How are you looking right now?
So let's see here. I'll just go from top to bottom. In first place currently is me. I have 28.28 points. Michelle's in second with 19.74. Billy is third with 19.49. You are fourth with 12.21. Um, yeah.
Jacob is in fifth with
Oh,
7.
Jacob, yes.
Yes, and then everybody else is tied for last with no releases yet. Um,
Right.
yeah,
But you're projected second.
I
Look at
am
that. That's
projected
cool.
second. I was projected first for a while, so you must have picked
Hmm.
something up let's take a look at your. Oh, it must have been Stellar Blade that you picked up that did that,
Yeah.
or Persona 3 might have scored higher than expected.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of I'm kind of happy I didn't put in any bids this weekend because I'm like I looked at the titles that got bought and I'm like, I'm not actually super hyped for any of these titles. I'm
I agree.
saving my money. We'll see. We have a long year ahead of us. Um, and yeah, but speaking of upcoming releases and DLC, you got to play Splatoon 3 Side Order. The
Yes.
new another roguelike DLC, am I right in saying that?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I like it a lot. The idea is, I haven't played a ton of it yet. I've done the first like tutorial clear of like the rogue like loop, you know. So the idea is you are someone named Agent 8. You don't have any memory as to what you were doing, but you were in this thing called the Spire of Order. And there's some sort of evil entity that is like brainwashing Inklings and Octolings, um, because they are like too chaotic. They have too much freedom, and so this like autocratic evil entity is trying to like suck all the fun out of everything. And so you're trying to stop them,
Yeah, that's fun.
which is pretty cool.
So, so Splatoon, I have played. I own Splatoon 2. I popped it in. I think I got it like when I got my Switch. I think I got Arms. No, here's what happened. I actually the story of how I got my Switch was really fun because like it was still while they were all sold out. I was starting a
Right.
show. It was literally opening day of a show in my hometown, and the closest GameStop is an hour away. I've been checking the
Nice.
websites, and I realized, I haven't been calling the stores. I've only been checking the websites. So I call a GameStop in our college town. I call GameStop in Manhattan, and they're like, "So we literally just got two in, like just now." And I'm
You're an
like,
hour away.
I'm gonna be there in an hour. I will see you then. And I didn't ask them to hold it or anything because I knew they wouldn't do that. But I'm like, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try and be there in an hour. And if I miss it, oh well, I've got friends in town I can go play games with until I have to get back to open the show that night. I show up. I walk in the door, and I don't say anything. The cashier just looks at me and goes, "Oh, were you the person that called an hour ago?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah." Um, and yeah, she'd held it for me, and so
That's
I,
crazy.
I I got it, and I got Arms, I got Breath of the Wild. I realized immediately I didn't like Arms, so I went and refunded it and got Splatoon 2. I played Splatoon 2 for like an hour. didn't
Dude.
didn't stick with it at all. I enjoyed it. I thought the gameplay loop was really interesting. But Breath of the Wild just had such a grip on me at the time.
Understandable.
All this to say, I know Splatoon 2. I know
Mhm.
Splatoon. I know the gameplay loop of the multiplayer. You are trying to have the most paint on the battlefield. How does
Right.
that translate into a roguelike?
That's a good question. So the different rooms that you can go in all have different objectives. If you've ever played like they have a PvE mode called oh gosh, what's it called? All of a sudden it has left my mind. But they have a PvE mode where you work with other people to like fight evil fish that come
Inklings
up out of the
versus the
water.
Spire. I don't know.
Right. um But yeah, so the idea is that you have different rooms where there are different challenges. So sometimes you will just be trying to clear out a room full of the bad guys. Sometimes there'll be like this giant ball. You have to go into a goal. Sometimes you have to like destroy portals that bad guys are coming out from. So it is much more like a traditional shooter type thing, which is very interesting. Um, there are a couple of levels that are more traditionally Splatoon, but those are kind of spoilery, so I won't give those away. But
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. So
Mhm.
basically, instead of like using your gun to splatter paint everywhere, you are trying to like cover an enemy with the paint and
right,
defeat them.
and then the traversal is still kind of the same, where you have to use your paint gun to like cover the floor and swim through it. So the basic mechanics are the same, but it's like
Okay.
the what you're actually doing on the level that's a little bit different.
Yeah. So you're enjoying your time with it.
I am, yeah, it's a lot of fun. The progression system is interesting. You get a thing called a chip at the beginning of every level that like increases different aspects of your character. So you could
Okay.
have like a stronger shot, or you could move faster. You could get a new special attack, those kinds of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Hi-Fi Rush, which we'll be talking about later, has a mode similar to that, like in an arcade machine in your hideout after you beat the game.
right.
Where it's like, yeah, every level you get a chip, and then it's just arena after arena of trying to just fight a few enemies, and then you get
hmm
like a buff or debuff every round.
This is very similar to that.
Okay. Yeah, that
Mhm.
sounds like a lot of fun, and I liked what I did play of Splatoon. So maybe this will be something that gets me back into it at some point once I get that tax refund in, whatever's taking the
Yep.
U.S. government so long to get that done. But that's a
I
different
think Splatoon.
podcast.
I think Splatoon 2 is my second most played game on my Switch with like
That's incredible.
600 something
That's
hours.
incredible.
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah,
had a problem for a while.
yeah. The music has always bothered me. I I remember like
No, Sterling.
I remember a previous Nintendo Direct them showing off a piece of DLC and just like being super confused at the soundtrack throughout it.
That makes me
Um,
sad.
but that's the only piece of music I actually can like recall off the
Hmm.
top of my head from it. So maybe if I listen to the rest of it, it'll be maybe they just made one bad choice and
My wife hates it too, so she would
okay.
appreciate that you said that.
All right. Well, speaking of Nintendo, this last week, in addition to Side Order, we had the Nintendo Direct happen.
Hmm.
What was this? I think on Tuesday. I think because I didn't.
Yes.
Yeah, because I had a show. I remember because I had a show, and I wanted to wait until after all my shows were done for the day to like catch up, and then the Nintendo Direct I never fully caught up on, and so I don't really know what happened in the Nintendo Direct. Honestly, I've heard rumblings of a few things here and there. Um,
Right.
so catch me up. What were some of the highlights that you caught from that?
Yeah, so it was a what they call a partner showcase. So it was all third-party developers, nothing from Nintendo themselves. Um, so it was their development partners that announced things. A lot of it we kind of knew. A lot of it was new information. Some highlights for me, at
Mhm.
least. Um, Epic Mickey is getting a remake called Epic
Yes.
Mickey Rebrushed, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yep. Rebrushed. Yeah, I did
Yes,
see that.
I played quite a bit of Epic Mickey on the Wii back in the day. I thought that was really
I
fun.
I did not. I bought it as a teenager for a
Hmm.
girlfriend. And
Hmm.
then uh she got angry 'cause she didn't want me to buy her a gift, and so I was like, okay, I totally didn't buy this game for you then. And then she
That's
pre-ordered it
so
for
funny.
herself.
Oh my
And so
goodness.
then I just didn't tell her that I pre-ordered it and I got it, and then I just never wanted to play it after I got it. So I should have played it,
Understandable.
but I never
It was
did.
cool. It was kind of a big deal when it came out because it was like so dark and eerie, very not Disney for the time. So
I do
it
remember
was pretty
that
cool.
vibe. Yeah. And it,
Hmm.
it, it I remember it. Okay. I don't know if I should say it. It had a Splatoon kind of thing, right? Where it's like you were trying to paint over the
Right. Yeah.
okay.
Mickey's got a big paintbrush. You can use paint to create platforms and things like that, or paint thinner to take things away. Is kind of the
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. I had to take a big pause before like, do I want to connect Splatoon and Epic Mickey together right now? But I'm like, I'll take the dive. Sure. Let's try. Yeah, I did see that. I'm very excited for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, what else popped up for you?
One big one for me is Penny's Big Breakaway. We've heard about this game for a while now. It's a game from the development team that made Sonic Mania.
Hmm.
Um, and it's like a big open 3D platformer
Oh.
where you are someone named Penny. They have a yo-yo and they use that yo-yo to traverse around the world.
Oh. Okay.
And fun fact, was a big yo-yo kid growing up. I like have a yo-yo collection still. I knew like probably 50 or so tricks. I had considered competing at one point, so like it was a big deal. So I'm excited for this game because people don't appreciate the yo-yo enough, in my opinion.
I agree. I was just watching a podcast with Hank Green where he was showing off his yo-yo skills.
That's
Uh,
incredible.
I I remember trying to learn the rock the cradle once.
Yeah.
And but I was never good at it. And then I also had the yo-yo ball. Did you
Yeah.
ever do you remember? Okay.
I had
That
those, yeah.
I mean that thing's like I don't I would be amazed if you could do any tricks with a yo-yo ball because of how it's
You really
designed.
can't.
Because it's like designed to just come right back.
Hmm.
Um, oh, I remember I did a play. I learned how to yo-yo for a play because I
That's
needed something to
hilarious.
do. I needed something to do on stage. I ran out of ideas for like what somebody at the time would have. Like the
Hmm.
Rubik's Cube hadn't been invented yet. And so I'm like, all right, I'll just get a yo-yo, and I practiced yo-yoing, and I got pretty good at it.
That's
No,
so
but
weird. I
that
like that.
all my tangents aside, that does sound like fun. And it said it's from the Sonic Mania team,
Yeah.
so it's a new IP from the Sonic Mania team.
Right.
That sounds incredible. What's the? Can you describe the art style? Is it describable? Is it?
It's very colorful like Sonic Mania, but it's like a little bit blockier. It kind of looks a little retro, in my opinion.
Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, again, if I
I
had a
like it.
keyboard, I would be looking it up and showing everybody right now, but I don't have a keyboard at the moment. Um, was
And that's
this
not a Switch
also
exclusive.
where Super Monkey Ball was
Yes.
announced? Okay. I love Super Monkey Ball. Um, I don't have like a long history with Super Monkey Ball. I have played it many times on many different consoles, but I cannot tell you the name of a single like if those games have subtitles regularly, I can't tell you any of
Hmm.
them. I can just tell you that I have played Super Monkey Ball on and off throughout my life, and I have always
Right.
really enjoyed it. Um, and so I will probably be picking up this Switch version. Um, yeah, very excited to see whatever that team brings.
This one's called Banana Rumble.
Yeah. I wonder
Well,
if they've got the original. I remember there was that whole deal about trying to find the original announcer. I wonder if he's back for it.
oh, I didn't hear about that. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, there was a whole YouTube video about this guy like trying to find out who the original announcer of Super Monkey Ball is because he
Hmm.
wasn't credited anywhere, and it was developed in Japan, and so he was an English voiceover artist living in Japan. They just didn't properly
Hmm.
credit him. Um, and he ended up finding him. It was like it was over a few videos. I think it was from Nick Robinson. Um, and yeah, it was a really cool series. And I think part of like this was just another day at work for this voiceover artist. He didn't realize what he was doing,
Right.
and he doesn't do a whole lot in the game. He just does that like let's go and kind of
Hmm.
stuff. Um, and so then he discovered that he was part of this game that so many people liked, and I think that kind of inspired him to try and help get a new title going as the voice actor tried to get something going. I think this might be the product of that.
That's really interesting. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah,
That's very cool.
yeah, it was really fun story. Were there any other aside from the Xbox stuff, which we'll talk about later? Was there any
Hmm.
other big highlights or anything that happened during
I'm
the direct?
scrolling through. An Endless Ocean sequel. That's not a game that I've ever played, but I know it's kind of a cult classic.
Yeah,
Do you have
I've
any
heard. I've
familiarity with those?
Nope. I've heard people talk about it. I know people like it. I know nothing about it.
Um, there's a Rare Studios quintet debuting on Switch Online with like a bunch of different games from their back catalog.
Okay.
People were upset that Donkey Kong 64 was not amongst them.
Yeah,
Understandable.
that's coming to PlayStation
Um,
too, isn't it?
I do not know.
I think because
I
I
would not be surprised.
I read something that was like Rare is publishing a game for the PlayStation for the first time in their like 30-year history or something like that.
I think I remember seeing a tweet about that, but I don't remember the exact
Yeah,
information.
yeah.
Oh, a big one for me, Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. So they're putting the original two Star Wars Battlefronts on modern consoles.
Yes. Yep. I've never played those, but I've been getting more into Star Wars, so like
Mhm.
I'll check it out. Why not?
I played Battlefront 2. It was the first game I got on my PSP,
Oh,
and I
wow.
played that so much. It was so cool.
Yeah. Was that is Battlefront is that the one that's multiplayer where it's
Yes,
like you play it's like it's PvE, sometimes PvP?
exactly. Yeah, and
Okay,
you can pick different.
I did play Battlefront 2. I played Battlefront 2 on the on Game Pass or something. Um back early pandemic.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, and
because they
I dug
have
it.
like a remake of them. They like re EA made like remakes of the series recently that were not super well received.
Uh-huh.
Um,
That might be what I played.
so
I don't know
mhm.
though. I feel like it was early pandemic, but it could have been a lot more recent. I have no memory. Um, yeah, so we got a lot of interesting titles at that direct, but they also announced that this week, in a couple days, we'll be getting a Pokemon Presents.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have no idea what to expect out of this, the Pokemon
I
Presents.
know, right?
It's too early for a new mainline game. Um, and I don't remember I don't remember what traditionally gets announced at Pokemon Presents, so I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if they might talk about the TCG. They might. I know season 2 of Pokemon Concierge is in development now, so they might talk
Mm-hmm.
about that. The new television season. Um, but as far as games go, I'm really hoping we get some of the retro games added because like Pokemon Sil no was it I think it was Crystal. I'm trying to recall. One Christmas, my sister got Pokemon Crystal, and I ended up playing that a lot. So that was one of my first games. Mine was technically Mickey Mouse racing, kart racing, something. Um,
It's awesome.
but I played a lot more of Katie's Pokemon Crystal,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually my parents got us Gold and Silver. So then we each had the two mainline games for that generation. I went
Yeah.
back and at a GameStop a few years later, I picked up a copy of Pokemon Blue. I loved that.
Nice.
Lent it to a friend. He lent it to somebody else on the bus, and I never saw it again.
No.
But I do now own a copy of Pokemon Yellow
Mm-hmm.
that sits on my desk. And so, like, I have Yellow, I have Gold, and I like those early games have such a big place in my heart. Pokemon is
Mm-hmm.
so much of a big reason as to why I got into games. And so getting to see the retro games coming to virtual consoles would be so incredible for me because I just like I don't have any of my original save files anymore. I kept
Right.
overwriting my save files all the time, not realizing how much I would want to have those in the future.
Yeah.
And so I don't really have a reason to go back and play them on my Game Boy. I would love a great way of legally playing them on my Switch.
Yeah. I completely agree. My very first game ever was Pokemon Red version. Pokemon Crystal is my favorite Pokemon game ever. That's one I played the most as a kid for sure. Um, but I agree, having them easily available legally on the Switch would be ideal for sure.
Yeah.
Um, there are some rumblings as well of like a remake of Gen 5 of Black and White. I could see
Okay.
that potentially happening.
Okay.
Um, just because that's kind of the order in which things happen in.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Black and White were the games that I owned Black and I owned
mhm.
Moon, but I don't remember anything about Black, and I think I barely played Moon. And so
Interesting.
I would, if they do re-release Black, I would love to hop into that and play it for what
Hmm.
would essentially be the first time with my memory.
Hmm. I played Gens 1 through 3 like as they were out, and then didn't touch a Pokemon game until the Switch came out.
Hmm.
And fell back in love with the series, and I've been kind of trying to go back and replay games and stuff. So
That's kind of where I am. Like I've or not loved, but I enjoyed Sword and Shield. I enjoyed Scarlet and Violet, and so I am back into the series now. But I haven't really felt a desire to go back and play what I missed, particularly X and Y. But if they re-release Black and White, yeah, I'll play it. Of course I will.
exactly, I'm kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
I have the ability to play them, but I'd rather play them on like a modern console.
Yeah, I don't know where I never owned a 3DS. That was part of why I fell off was because I didn't own a
Hmm.
3DS when they came out. My last like I had the original DS, I had the DSi,
Hmm.
and then eventually late into its lifespan, this was I want to say right before I graduated high school, so a couple years before the Switch came out.
Hmm.
Would have been when I picked up a 2DS finally.
Okay.
And I just didn't play much on that. I got it just to have it, really, to
Hmm.
be like, look, I have owned this generation of Nintendo hardware.
Right.
Uh
Hmm.
and uh and yeah, barely played it. So I'm in I don't even know where it is right now.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would love a way to play it.
Yeah, I actually never owned any DS console, DS or 3DS,
Uh-huh.
until a week ago. I bought myself a 3DS to play with.
Oh yes, yes. I have been following the story. I've been so
I've got
busy
it
with
right
this
here.
show and tech and everything. That's incredible.
Mhm.
So and you did absolutely nothing illegal with it, right?
No,
Is
not at all.
okay.
It
That's
is
what I thought I read.
perfectly out of the
That's what I thought.
box. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right out of the box, and you don't have
Allegedly,
access
they're
to
pretty
any.
easy to hack if you wanted to, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
know anything about that.
No, of course not. Nobody would know
Mm-mm.
anything about that.
No.
That's incredible. I'm super excited that you. I should go. I'm at my parents' house right now. I should go find my 2DS somewhere, but who knows where it
I'll
is.
say, yeah, there's a lot of resources out there to do stuff to it if you.
Do you have any other predictions or hopes for this upcoming presents?
My big hope is we do not hear anything about a new mainline game.
Me too. Me too.
Because I think they need some time to like figure their stuff out. Because Scarlet and Violet were fun, but released in like such a broken state, and like even the DLC, it runs pretty terribly on the Switch. It chugs. There's frame rate dips all the time. Um, I would really like them to see them take their time with this next game and have it come out in like pristine condition. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I
Um,
think some sort of remake would be cool,
mhm.
of the Gen 5 games. But the thing I want the most is definitely retro games on Switch Online.
Yeah.
Gens 1 through 3 would be ideal. That'd be super cool.
And I think notably doing that would tide over the fans long enough for you to spend more time on development for the next mainline title.
I agree.
Was Pokemon Arceus developed by the core team? Do you remember?
I believe it was. It was the
Okay,
remakes of Diamond and Pearl that were outsourced to,
that's right.
I think, like Ilka Studios or something like that.
Yeah, because I would love to see another type of Arceus game, but if it's the core team, then like just no, keep working on it.
Right.
It's not been long
Uh,
enough.
a Legends Celebi would be super cool as a Gen
That
2
would be
boy.
cool. That would be a lot of
Hmm.
fun. Yeah. I would also love that.
Hmm.
Or I was always a big Ho-Oh fan. Um
Yep.
I even as a teenager, do you remember like Facebook pages being super popular where people would make pages
Absolutely.
to just like share memes and stuff like that?
Mhm.
I had a Facebook page called The Amazing Ho-Oh that was my meme page. Uh, and
That's amazing.
I think I might have finally closed it a few years ago after like half a decade of inactivity or plus
I
more.
was about to go look
Um,
it up. Dang it.
uh, but yeah, I always loved Ho-Oh, and that's why because
That's cool.
Pokemon Gold was my first title that I owned, and so that's a big
Yeah.
part of it. Celebi's also incredible. Celebi's great.
Hmm.
So any type of Gen 2 legendary, I
What
would be
about like a
all over.
Let's Go?
Let's go,
Gen 2 Let's
Ho-Oh.
Go. Or Let's Go. The fan idea has always been like Let's Go Pichu and Togepi.
Oh, that would be so much fun. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that would be incredible. Or I guess they wouldn't do the starters because they were already starters. Yeah,
Hmm.
something like that. But now I do want a Let's Go Ho-Oh where you are just controlling a god. And
That'd be cool. Just a giant firebird.
yeah, yeah. That rains destruction on a poor Pikachu starting its journey off in episode 1 of a TV show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm very excited. I don't know if we'll be reacting to that live yet or not. If some people are available and want to, that's great. I don't know if I will be free. I have I have shows Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this week. So I'm going to be very tired. But if
Hmm.
I'm around, I would love to react to it. We'll talk about that. That's inside baseball talk. We'll chat about that. Um so, another quick thing that we want to touch on. This isn't really video game related so much as it is like tangentially related. But the IGN Creators Guild has received voluntary recognition for their union by the leadership at IGN, which is
Hmm.
a massive, massive step for I would argue not just games journalism, but the gaming like sphere as a whole in terms of unionization. Because we had
Completely
Activision
agree.
Blizzard ABK's union that, but that
Hmm.
wasn't voluntarily recognized. They had to really fight for it,
Hmm.
and so this is the first time in my memory that a major business slash outlet has voluntarily recognized their union in the gaming sphere. And I think that is going to lead to great things for the IGN staff, for IGN as a whole, and hopefully, as people start to mature out of IGN and move to other outlets to further their careers in other ways and do all this stuff, or just other outlets looking into IGN, I really hope this starts to bleed out into the atmosphere of gaming, especially in a week where we just
Absolutely.
lost Vice. Like,
Hmm.
there's so much to
It's
be
been rough out
done.
there.
Yeah, yeah, and so, yeah. What are your thoughts on this? What's your takeaway from seeing all this?
I am super excited for the IGN Creators Guild. I'm a big advocate of the labor movement. I think I'm really very passionate about it.
Yeah,
I'm a proud member of a labor union, so this
I
is
want to
super
be.
exciting for me. Yeah.
If somebody will
um,
cast me, then I could be. But
I found an article from Variety written by Jordan Moreau, I think is how you say that name. Um, the guild is currently made up of over 80 employees, with 87% of the eligible members signing union cards. They're fighting for better pay, layoff protections, and measurable steps that increase staff diversity, which I think is all super great.
yeah. Hmm.
Um, the There's a writer for IGN named Rebecca Valentine.
Oh yeah.
She did fellow Kansan.
Oh
Shout out
really? I
Rebecca.
didn't know that. That's incredible.
Mm-hmm. I believe she grew up in Wichita.
Mm. It was like either Overland Park or Wichita. Surely,
Right,
you can pretty
exactly.
much get 80% of Kansas with that guess.
That's very true. She went on to Kind of Funny the day that they announced the Creators Guild,
Yeah.
and did a little interview with Greg Miller over there talking about the unionization effort and things like that. And it was very interesting. She talked about how things at IGN right now are actually pretty good, um, but they wanted to make sure that they have their union set and ready to go before some sort of catastrophe could potentially happen. You don't want to be doing this
Yes.
in the middle of like a fire, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want you want to set yourself up and the people that will be there after you before things fall apart. And I think that was really very wise of them and kind of different from what we've seen from recent like labor movement efforts. Because like the Starbucks union got really big because Starbucks does not treat their employees very well oftentimes, and so there's a big rush for Starbucks baristas to unionize.
Yeah.
And there've been a lot of other um, companies that have been not very good to their employees, and they've been reacting in turn. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that
Yeah.
IGN did not do that. It was kind of the opposite.
Yeah. A lot of people have the idea of we need to unionize, but that doesn't come until something bad happens. And so I
Hmm.
thought it was really great of Rebecca to go on the show and talk about that, to like plant that idea in people's heads, because you do need to start it early. And that makes it so it's easier to get voluntary recognition when you're not in the middle of a shitstorm too.
Exactly.
And yeah, it will do great things. I like, as an actor, I have seen the good that like both the IATSE, which is the technical guild, and
Hmm.
SAG-AFTRA, the Screen Actors Guild, and Actors Equity, which is the Theater Actors Guild.
Hmm.
Um, I've seen the good that those unions can do for the people working under the umbrellas of that, and so I'm just really hoping that what it turns ends up being is that not just the IGN Creative Guild. I hope it ends up being the Creative Guild, and like take IGN out of the equation, make it an umbrella thing, and allow it, and or have it be like a gaming guild. and allow
Right.
it to be for people that are working in games and in the games media, and be like, okay, if you want to hire any of these people that are members of this guild, you need to sign these things and like say that your company is working with the guild, because that's how it works as an actor. As an actor, once you
Right.
become a union actor, you cannot take non-union work. So we need enough companies to recognize that and to create this umbrella, and then hopefully it won't be perfect. You know, that doesn't prevent you from being laid off,
Right.
but it will improve things quite a bit.
And actually, the IGN Creators Guild is already under an umbrella of another union. It's the
Oh,
News
okay.
Guild CWA. They
Okay.
are a newspaper journalists union.
Got it. So then in that case, yeah, keep doing your thing. And I would love to see something like that umbrella guild be made for developers. That would be incredible.
Absolutely. Because there's been a lot going on the past year or so.
Yes.
They could
yeah.
use some help.
I think I haven't looked up the numbers because I don't want to get sad, but I would not be surprised if we have already crossed the number of 2023 this year. Just with some of the huge numbers that we've had. Another shout out to Greg Miller for the call out to Embracer Group during the DICE Awards. Very, very funny. Very incredible. And so apologies to that poor man that was put on camera that is not from Embracer Group.
Gosh. I saw that.
He looks like the CEO of Embracer Group, but he is not the CEO.
And just happened to be put on camera when Greg did the call out.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Anyway, moving on from that, we've got a couple more things we want to chat about before we get out of here today. So Xbox has finally announced, or I guess the other parties have finally announced some first-party Xbox titles that are coming to the Switch and the PS5. Trying to remember off the top of my head, I know we had Pentiment coming to Switch, and what was the other title coming to Switch?
Grounded
and Pentiment coming to Switch. Grounded got an actual feature, whereas Pentiment was just like a screenshot in a video.
Right. It was like in the sizzle reel at the end.
Yeah. Which is like, okay, fine. Grounded is definitely the more popular of the two. I get it. But Hi-Fi Rush coming to PlayStation. Do we know anything else coming?
Gosh.
Do we know anything else coming to PlayStation?
Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves. Oh my goodness. So,
Yes.
Hi-Fi Rush. One of my favorite games of last year. Honestly, in my top 5 of last year. I own an Xbox and a PlayStation, so I was bouncing back and forth. Very excited that you and everybody else gets to experience this game because it was so much fun.
Wait. I don't have an Xbox. We'll likely never have an Xbox.
Yeah.
But like Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves both were the only two games that I was like, maybe I should get an Xbox. And now I don't have to. So that's pretty cool.
Yep. I had a really, really good time with it. Sea of Thieves is another one where I don't remember if I played right at the beginning, but I played pretty close to the beginning. And I don't have many friends that play it. I have one friend that I played with a lot whenever she and I could get on at the same time, we would play it.
Yep.
And it's been a long time since we have, and I really miss playing with her, playing that. It was so much fun. And so I'm
Billy's
really
a big Sea of Thieves boy.
I'm really hoping that this means we're going to be getting content for it for a while to come. Specifically, something I have been wanting to do since they teased private servers back in like 2021 or something, like a long time ago.
Oh,
and they never have released them. I really want a private Sea of Thieves server to do narrative work in. I want to host like an improv show inside Sea of Thieves where it's like I am playing as like a character and I have a bunch of friends join and they act like NPCs giving me pirate quests and I have to like go to islands. That would be so much fun. And so I'm really hoping that we get some private servers soon. And I don't have to worry about anybody stealing that idea because nobody else can get private servers right now either. So,
You just got to
Yeah.
jump on it the second it comes out.
Right, right. I have to learn the release date and plan ahead of time, and then get a bunch of
There
friends
you
on
go.
the day of and just pray that it works out.
But yeah,
Um,
I know that Billy plays a lot of Sea of Thieves. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. He and I don't remember if he and I have ever played together. We've talked about it. We probably have at least once, just because we've talked about it before. But I
right.
really love it. Really, it's so much fun. There's no, there is a progression system of sorts, but it's not like you don't like unlock new weapons or abilities or anything.
Mhm.
So it's just kind of like it's a great game that you can just kind of hop on, play a little bit, get off, and then like make sure you turn in all your things before you get off, and then
Mhm.
turn it back on the next day, and you're in a new island and you can go somewhere
Very
else.
cool.
Yeah, it's very fun.
I think it's very interesting, especially with Skull and Bones out now. That
Oh,
kind of the same
is
idea
it
for a
out?
game. You know, I think
I
it is.
I think I couldn't
Finally.
remember. I couldn't remember if it was this last week or if it's coming out this week. I was thinking about that while I was grabbing my water before the show. I was like, did Skull and
Looking it up
Bones
right
come
now.
out this week? Do we
February
need to talk?
13th.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So
That explains it. I was busy with celebrating turning 27, so I ignored
go.
it entirely.
But yeah, I think it's very interesting. Sea of Thieves arguably will be the more successful of the two, just because it's been around for longer. But also like Skull and Bones has had such a bad news cycle surrounding it.
It's had a bad news cycle, and not to mention, Sea of Thieves, you never lose control of your character.
Right.
There are hidden puzzles and secrets and stuff, and you get to just explore and do the thing. Whereas in Skull and Bones, if you want to board another ship, you have a cutscene, and
Yep.
and like taking away that agency does really bad things to your player retention. Sea of Thieves has a player base, and not to mention the art style is just on point, and
Yep.
I fail to see Skull and Bones ever doing better than Sea of Thieves.
It's just so weird that I don't know that these two games will be existing at the same time.
Yeah, and we'll see how long for. You know,
Yep.
I don't like wishing failure upon live service games, but it's a live service game in 2024. You know.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else about the Xbox stuff that excites you? Those 4 titles, or is it mostly just getting to play Hi-Fi Rush?
I cannot wait to play Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah,
It's gonna be so cool.
I'm very excited to have people play it that haven't gotten it before. All right. Well, last and final thing we want to talk about today: Spider-Man is getting a new update. Did you say March 6th?
7th.
March 7th, Spider-Man 2 is getting a new update. Finally getting that new game plus. We're getting photo mode improvements. I saw that you can make like a little figurine and put like a Spider-Man
Yep.
figurine on that's going to be so much fun for people.
10 stickers.
10 stickers. Wait, they have
Is-
10 different
in the-
stickers or you can put
I
10
believe they are
stickers on
releasing
them?
10. I
Oh,
think they're
okay.
releasing 10 stickers for the photo mode. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I know some people that just love gaming photo modes and just go crazy for them. So I'm excited for them for that.
I'm not patient enough.
Yeah, I've taken some cool photos. I've taken a couple good cool photos in like Last of Us and stuff. But I mostly forget that it's there.
Yep.
Also, Midnight Suns had a really janky photo mode, where it's like you could any character that was on the screen when you went to take your photo, you could change their pose. And so
Right.
people, if somebody was sitting at the bar, they're sitting on the bar, you could make them stand up, and so they would stand up on the bar stool.
Oh, weird.
And I remember taking a photo, making like Nico Minoru and I forget the other person like stand up, and like they were like hands in the air praising, and I'm sitting on the ground like, ooh, I look so good. I just took one stupid photo in Midnight Suns.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Spider-Man update's got those stickers, new game plus. It'll now let you change the day and night cycle, which is good because it was locked to, I think, daytime.
Yeah.
After completing the game.
Yes.
Which, like, I don't know. I want to have the symbiote suit in the nighttime. So
Yeah,
I'm glad that's happening.
their nighttime New York looks so good.
It's
So
crazy.
yeah.
I love it. And then they're also adding in 4 new suits. I think 2 of them are like symbiote inspired suits from like a recent comic book run.
Okay.
And then the other 2 are for a charity based in the Bay Area that like help. I'm gonna look it up so I don't mess
Yeah.
this up. But it's a charity. It's like a game development charity, I believe.
It's incredible.
Um, Spider-Man
So
2.
do we have to like buy these suits or?
The 2 charity suits, yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes. They are called the Flying Fresh suits for $5, continuing through April 5th. So it's only for a short time.
Okay.
They'll donate up to $1 million of proceeds to Game Heads is the name of the charity.
Okay, fun. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out. I haven't really opened Spider-Man 2 since that weekend it came out, and I platinumed it as fast as I could.
I did the exact same thing. Yep.
And so yeah, I'm excited to pop back into it, even if just for a day or two. Nothing feels as good as that game. Just no game has come close to its movement. I'm so excited.
Spider-Man is my favorite fictional character of all time. So.
Mine too. Yeah, it's
all right.
It was actually thanks to, this is going to be controversial. It was thanks to Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man.
Interesting.
That's where I started to fall in love with Spider-Man. And yeah, I still think he's great.
I think he is great. The movies are not as great, but he is very good at what he does.
It's weird because sometimes some things I have a very critical eye about. Like if I go to a theater production or if I watch like a live production, like a live newscast or anything like that, I get very picky about it, which is very funny because Up Download is so jank. But I do get very like judgmental about like live content that I take in.
Do you want to talk about your live setup today?
Yeah. My live setup with my my Canon DSLR and my professional $1,000 microphone, just because I don't have an alternate setup today. I literally, out of necessity, had to go all out for quality today.
So funny.
Whereas normally I'm like, I'll just use my cheaper microphone and my webcam and it's fine.
Yep.
But I also get really picky about video games and stuff. But films, I get very, like, Madam Web was the first time I watched a movie in a long time and like could pick out issues with it. Like specific problems. So there's a lot of movies I will watch that people will say like, oh, hey, the writing was really bad. And I just don't even recognize that. I'm just like, I had a great time. Like Amazing Spider-Man was one of those. I just had a great time watching Amazing Spider-Man. Madam Web, the issues I picked out were not necessarily with the writing, but with a lot of things that the writing forced the production to do. And so, yeah, I'm just my writing analytic skills are not all there, I should say. Yeah. Anyway, that's all we've got to talk about today. I don't know. Was there anything else you wanted to brush on any of the topics before we take off?
No, I had an awesome conversation, Sterling. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm super, super happy we got to finally do this. Super excited to be here, chat with you. We are going to be back next week again at 1 p.m. Central Time. I will have a third new unique setup that is not this. Who knows what it'll be? I'm changing setups every week at this point.
It'll be a mystery, a surprise.
A mystery, yes. I don't know who the co-host is yet. I've been very busy. Need to schedule that stuff out. Keep an eye on the socials. Head to upupdownload.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We're hoping to get some more articles out this week. We might be doing a Nintendo live stream. If we do, Twitter's where you're going to find out. X is where you're going to find out. At Download. Yeah, thanks so much for hanging out, everybody. And we will see you next week.